Every day, billions of people drive to work, school, or home without giving much thought to which side of the road they're on. Yet if you travel abroad, something surprisingly ordinary can suddenly feel completely wrong. The steering wheel is on the opposite side. Traffic approaches from a direction you are not expecting, and every turn demands extra attention. What's even more surprising is that there has never been a worldwide agreement. Today, about 2/3 of countries of the world drive on the right, while the rest keep left. So, who made the decision? As it turns out, nobody did. To understand why, we have to go back long before automobiles existed. Thousands of years before the first engine was built, people were already choosing which side of the road feels safer. And those early habits would eventually shape modern traffic around the world. Imagine riding a horse along a narrow road in medieval Europe. Most people were right-handed, and many carried a sword on their left hip. Keeping to the left allowed a rider to keep their weapon between themselves and anyone approaching from the opposite direction. If a stranger looked threatening, their dominant hand was already in the best position to react. Even when there was no danger, riding on the left simply made everyday life easier. Mounting a horse from the left was more comfortable for a right-handed rider wearing a sword, and passing another traveler on the left reduced the risk of bumping into weapons or equipment. Evidence suggests these habits may stretch back even further. Archaeologists studying ancient Roman roads discover wheel rods that indicate heavy traffic often keep left. While historians continue to debate exactly how widespread the practice was, it shows that the idea of left side travel is far older than most people imagine. For centuries, there was little reason to change. Roads were shared by pedestrians, horses, carts, and livestock. There were no painted lanes, no traffic lights, and certainly no driver's licenses. Customs varied from town to town, but across much of Europe, keeping left was common enough that few people questioned it. If left-side travel had been the norm for so long, why do most countries drive on the right today? The answer begins with a man who changed far more than Europe's political map. When Napoleon Bonaparte expanded the French Empire in the early 19th century, his influence reached far beyond the battlefield. Many territories under French control adopt right-side travel, replacing older local customs. Whether driven by military logistics, political symbolism, or practical administration, the result was the same. As Napoleon's armies moved across Europe, neighboring regions increasingly aligned their roads with those of their trading partners. Even after the French Empire declined, many countries keep their new system. Changing back will only have complicated travel and commerce. But there was one major European power that largely resisted Napoleon's influence and never adopted the new convention. Protected by the English Channel and its powerful navy, Britain continued driving on the left. In 1835, Parliament even made a left-side travel a legal requirement on public roads, reinforcing a tradition that had existed for centuries. That decision would prove far more influential than anyone could have predicted. During the 19th century, the British Empire expanded across the globe, bringing its engineering standards, railways, and road practice to colonies on nearly every continent. Many of those places, including Australia, New Zealand, India, and parts of Africa, still drive on the left today. Long after the empire faded, many new independent nations simply kept the system they had inherited, a decision that still shapes everyday life for hundreds of millions of people. But Britain's colonies were not the only places driving on the left. One country followed the same convention, despite never becoming part of the British Empire. Japan is often grouped with Britain because both drive on the left. But Japan reached that decision through a different path. During the late 19th century, British engineers played a major role in developing Japan's first railways. As modern transportation systems expanded, left-side operation became firmly established and later carried over to road traffic. By the beginning of the 20th century, the world had quietly split into two driving traditions. Rather than creating a new system, the automobiles cemented the ones that history had already put in place. Once millions of people began driving, changing sides was no longer just a matter of tradition. Roads had to be redesigned, intersections reconfigured, and traffic signs replaced. Bus doors, highway exits, and even driver training, all depending on vehicles traveling in a particular direction. A nationwide switch would require far more than repainting a few lines on the pavement. As a result, most countries simply stayed with the system they already had. Whether they drove on the left or the right mattered less than keeping everyone following the same rules. By the middle of the 20th century, changing sides had become an enormously expensive transportation project, one that few governments were willing to undertake. Yet one country concluded that the long-term benefits outweighed the enormous cost. Its decision would become one of the most carefully planned traffic changes in modern history. That country was Sweden. For decades, Sweden drove on the left, even though most of its neighboring countries drove on the right. As international travel increased, crossing the border meant immediately adapting to a completely different traffic system. After years of debate, Sweden decided to make the switch. On September 3, 1967, a day known simply as Dagen Hor, traffic across the country briefly stopped under a carefully coordinated nationwide plan. At the appointed time, vehicles moved to the opposite side of the road before continuing their journeys. Overnight, thousands of road signs were uncovered, bus routes were adjusted, and an entire nation began driving on the right. The operation was an extraordinary logistical challenge, but it was also remarkably successful. Careful planning, public education, and months of preparation helped minimize confusion. Within a short time, the new system became part of everyday life, proving that a nationwide change was possible, but only with enormous effort and cost. Despite Sweden's success, very few countries have followed the same path. For most governments, the benefits simply do not justify the disruption. Modern highways, public transportation, emergency services, and millions of privately owned vehicles are all built around a single, consistent system. Once the system was established, changing it becomes increasingly difficult. Today, whether you drive on the left or the right depends less on engineering than on history. The side of the road you use may trace its origins to medieval horsemen, the ambitions of Napoleon, the reach of the British Empire, or decisions made generations before the first automobile ever appeared. There was never a worldwide agreement deciding which side was correct. Instead, countless local customs, political events, technological advances, and practical compromises gradually shaped the roads we use today. So the next time you travel abroad and everything feels backwards, remember, you're not seeing a mistake. You are seeing history still at work, one lane at a time. Thanks for watching. Have you ever driven on the upside of the road? I would love to hear about your experience in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the hidden history behind everyday things, consider subscribing for more documentaries like this.